In case you don't know me, and in case we haven't met each other, my name's Katia. Most people call me Kate because they can't remember Katia, and then they inadvertently call me Katie. If we want to be friends today, Just to be clear, I'm not Katie. You can call me Kate. I'm not Katia. I'm not Katia. I'm not any of those other variations that you may... I'm Katia or I'm Kate. Are we friends? Yay. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the creative arts pastor for our morning services here at the Mishonga campus. And part of that role is to lead worship. And last night, I discovered that I was more nervous about what I was going to wear today than when I make the decision every single Sunday, because every single Sunday no one really cares, but when you're in front of 750 women, suddenly it matters. So I had my outfit planned, and I thought it was pretty styling. Not this one. The reason that I got changed was because I said to my husband and I have an agreement. We tell each other the truth no matter what. And it's kind of funny. So, like, you know how, girls, you know how you say to your husband, "Does my butt look big in these pants?" And he goes, "Mm-mm." And what he means is, "Uh-huh." But he's too scared to say it. Yeah, no, mine says it. No. And I heard horrified gasps. It's okay, because he asks me the same question. And we have open and honest dialogue. So I said, "Can you come and help me choose what to wear?" And I showed him what I thought was styling, and he said, "Why are you wearing your house clothes?" Needless to say, I got changed. Also, thank you so much. In a moment of vulnerability, I was going to wear my weave because... Why are you laughing? I have one. Because you can see my ponytail is so tiny that I need extra hair, but I ran out of time, so you're stuck with me the way I am. So this morning, we are going to talk, and all day in fact, we're going to talk about what it means to thrive. And thrive is just a word that excites me because there's something about that word that just screams life. You can't talk about thriving and it be anything other than positive, healthy, and growing. And I thought maybe we could start today by talking about what it's not. Because sometimes you can define something far more accurately by understanding what it's not than by actually trying to find some fancy vocabulary with big words to explain what it is. So here's what thriving is not. It's not stuff. It's not stuff. I think somehow over the years and over the generations, mankind has somehow found a way to make assumptions about people. So you might see big expensive homes, big expensive cars, designer label clothes, and a big fat diamond that's quite a few carats on the finger, and we make an assumption that that household is thriving. Is anyone guilty of that? I have been guilty of that. Sure, they're doing so well. Anyone thought those thoughts? But that doesn't mean that they are thriving. In fact, on the inside of that home could be, possibly, mountains of debt, broken marriage, children who were distanced from their parents, not thriving. And because of that, I absolutely categorically believe that it is also possible to thrive when you have none of those things. To thrive when you have no husband, no children, no income, a very teeny tiny house. To even thrive when there's no job and circumstantially things don't look that great. It is still possible to thrive. And the room got a little quieter, like, I'm not sure about that. So hopefully today we're going to take you on a journey. And hopefully today we're going to shift some mindsets and tweak a few paradigms and actually talk about what God thinks thriving is and how we can do that. So what does it actually mean to thrive? So when I looked it up in the dictionary, it says this: to grow or develop vigorously, to flourish. Flourish is such a girly word, hey. That's why half the women conferences in the world are called Flourish. And there's nothing wrong with it, by the way. Great name. We couldn't use it because it was already taken. It means to grow or develop vigorously, to flourish. But actually, I've discovered that that's only half the story. And as I prepared for this morning, I had an idea of where I wanted to go in my head, and then I sat down to actually write it out and prepare. And I realised I've actually had a major paradigm shift. So I hope that you can come on the journey with me. Let me give you a window into my brain. Sometimes we believe things, and if we actually pressed pause and paid attention to what we believe, we're not sure why we actually believe them. Like, where did that thought get planted? Where did that actually come from? And I think every single person on the face of the planet, I don't know what the planet is, but the planet, we are guilty of buying into things without actually understanding why we've bought into that thing. And I realised, I've been in church ever since I was really small. I've never not been in church. I've never, in my conscious memory, not been a follower of Jesus. And that's an awesome thing to be able to say, but I also realised I need to dial things back a little bit and see why I believe some of the things that I believe. For example, subconsciously there had always been an assumption for me that thriving was what went on the inside, prospering was what went on the outside. So you would say, the big house, the big car, that person was prosperous, not necessarily thriving. Does that make sense? I realised that I had this massive divide between these two words. Thriving must be godly. Being prosperous, maybe not, because then it might be rooted in the love of money. That was just, I realised what was going on in my own head. But as I did the homework, I had a light bulb moment, because I kept reading the dictionary. My light bulb moment started in the dictionary. Can you actually believe it? That was a joke. Thanks for coming with me on that. So here is another part of the definition of to thrive. It's to grow or develop vigorously or flourish, which we kind of expected to say. Here's the second part. To prosper. To be fortunate or successful. That's the dictionary definition of the word thrive. So it seems that thriving can actually be internal and external. And then I thought, sure, well, I wonder what prosper means. So I looked that up. I know, it was a very scholarly week for me. And it said this is the first one we know. It says to succeed in an enterprise or activity or to achieve economic success. We get that. But how's the second part? To become strong and flourishing, to thrive, is the second part of prosper. And then, I Googled some more, because you can. And the beauty of Google is that when you Google dictionary definitions, it brings up a whole lot of different dictionaries. So I spent an hour reading the dictionary, and this is the part that blew me away. Thrive has 3 parts to it. 3 parts to it. Thank you very much. You can have that one for free. There's that one there. That's a Holy Spirit one that he hasn't told us yet. Okay. It means to grow or develop vigorously or to flourish, to prosper or be fortunate or successful. Okay, this one knocked me off my chair. Are you ready? Okay, if you are taking notes, you want to write this down. This is your moment. Are you ready? To progress towards or realise a goal despite or because of circumstances. I'm just going to let that sink in a moment. To progress towards or realise a goal despite or because of circumstances. Everyone say after me, in Tom, as Tom would say. Where's Jess? Yo. That means not one person sitting in this room today has an excuse to not thrive. Not one person. And some of you internally going, I can see on your faces, yeah, but. Yeah, no buts. Butts are things that sit on seats. No one in this room has an excuse to not thrive. That's why passages of scripture like 2 Corinthians suddenly take on life when it says, we are hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Stuff can happen to us, stuff can happen around us, but we don't have to bow the knee to those things. Those things don't have to be the full stop on the sentence of your life. There's a lady by the name of Susan David who is a PhD in psychology. She's a faculty member at Harvard Medical School. And for the last several decades, she's conducted science-based research around emotional agility. And in all of her research, she has found this. She says, no matter how intelligent or creative people are, no matter what type of personality they have, it is how they navigate their inner world, being their thoughts, their feelings, and their self-talk, that ultimately determines how successful they will become or how much they will thrive. Success is a mamby-pamby word. I don't like it. It talks about outward greatness, and we're talking about thriving. But ultimately, it's how we govern ourselves inside that will determine the level of thriving that we experience in our lives. Emotionally agile people are not immune to stresses in life. They're not immune to setbacks. The key difference is that they know how to adapt. They know how to align their actions and reactions with their inner values and make changes in their lives that lead to a lifetime of growth. In other words, when you live by your circumstances, when you allow what is happening around you to determine what happens in you, you're not thriving, you're just surviving. So if you're wondering this morning, am I thriving? Am I surviving? Sometimes it feels like the same, two different sides of the same coin. Sometimes. Yeah. Let me give you some keys. You can do a little self-analysis check. Here are some signs for you to help you discover whether or not you are just straight out in survival mode. Are you ready? You choose the path of least resistance. Let's not rock the boat. Whatever is the easiest thing. The path of least resistance. You are more reactive than proactive. I'm just letting these sink in. Because chicks, ladies, there's something about our DNA that likes to be reactive. We like to get defensive. We like to make up our minds and make sure that everybody else knows what it is. There's something in us that likes to be reactive. We blame the circumstances or others or find excuses when things go wrong instead of just owning it. We feel like there's never enough to go around. You don't speak your mind because someone might disagree with you. I love this one. This is a biggie. You don't listen to hear, you listen to speak. Has anybody ever had a person like that in your life? So you're all giggling because you all know. It doesn't matter what you've said. They just come back at you with something completely different. And you're like, are we in the same conversation? Shall we try again? You don't listen to hear, you listen to speak. You see failure as the end result of things gone wrong. I used to think that. I used to think if something didn't work or was difficult, that was it. Let me give you a classic example. My husband Ryan is sitting at the back of the room right now. Everyone say, hello, Ryan.
Hello, Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
With my two gorgeous children. And he will tell you about what I was like before we got married. Why are you laughing? So you know how people say you get married and the first 12 months is the most difficult, and then you find each other's rhythms and what, and then it comes... Yeah, no, that wasn't our story. Don't worry, the marriage is good, it's okay. So we were together for 2 years before we got married, and our most difficult year, without even close comparison, was the first year that we were dating. Thank you for that. You see, I told you we speak truth to each other in love. It was nasty for both of us. And the reason that it was difficult was because just a joke. It was, the reason it was difficult was because it was a clash of, in a sense, I suppose, family culture that had appropriated itself inwardly to something that I wasn't even aware was there. So, for example, Ryan's family are an incredibly close-knit family. They'll talk all the time, they're together a lot, they have a really close relationship. My family is not estranged from each other. I'm the eldest of 4 children. So our house, it was always chaos because we were always together and we were always loud. But it was only after I stepped out of the context of my family and moved halfway around the world that I discovered that actually communication in our home wasn't really very good at all. My mum was the matriarch of the family, and I discovered that she's also the matriarch of all matters concerning communication. She was the puzzle that just joined us all together. And I had never witnessed my parents fight. I'd never heard them shout at each other or an argument, and I thought that was amazing, and it is, except conflict resolution was never modelled for me. So because I didn't learn that conflict can be resolved and be healthy, when there was conflict between Ryan and I just thought, that's it, he's going to break up with me. Is that not what I thought? That's what I thought. So my insecurity actually told me, every time we had a difference of opinion or there was something that we were working through, I just wouldn't talk. Because if I spoke my mind and he disagreed, that would be the end. So the poor soul had to suffer for 2 years while I had to learn that actually it was a safe place. Actually, it doesn't mean the end when communication sometimes breaks down. It's just a really practical example of how we carry things with us that influence everything that we actually do, that govern every relationship that we actually have around us, and we aren't even aware of why until we're brave enough to press pause and start to unpack it. So what does God say about thriving? Quite a lot, actually. Quite a lot. And let me give you the foundation for all of it. It comes from the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 10, and it's a verse that you all know really well and can probably recite back to me. It says this: "A thief has only one thing in mind. He wants to steal, slaughter, and destroy. But I have come to give you everything in abundance, more than you expect. Life in its fullness until you overflow." That's the foundation for all of it. Now, listen to this. Once I discovered that actually thrive and prosper can be interchanged, because we just discovered that they actually mean the same thing, listen to what that does with the way that you can read scripture. We've all heard 3 John verse 1 and 2. "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health just as your soul prospers." Listen to it now. "May you thrive in all things and be in health just as your soul thrives." It's connected. The outer won't thrive until the inner is thriving. Or, "May you prosper in all things even as your soul thrives." It shifts how we read it. Psalm 72 verse 16 says, "May there be abundant grain throughout the land, flourishing even on the hilltops. May the fruit trees flourish like the trees of Lebanon, and may the people thrive or prosper like grass in a field." Has anyone planted grass? That thing takes off. Go home and plant some grass if you haven't. It's difficult to kill it when it makes up its mind. 1 Samuel 25 verse 6 says, "Peace and prosperity be to you, your family and everything you own. May thriving be with you and your family and everything you own." He gives us huge wisdom in how to balance the inner with the outer. Proverbs 11 says, "Those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive, prosper like a green leaf." He makes promises over our children and our children's children. Psalm 102 says, "The children of your people will live in security. Their children's children will thrive, will prosper in your presence," meaning his presence. More than all of that, it's impossible to thrive unless our inner man, our thoughts, our feelings, and our self-talk are straight up anchored in who God says we are. You can't thrive without it. And that's a whole other message. And as the day goes on, I have a feeling you're going to hear the whisper or the shout. But I've got a feeling that you're going to hear it. So maybe today you're sitting here and you're realizing that you're sitting in a place of survival. I'm so glad you're here, because today can be the day. Today can be the day where you take a baby step toward thriving. The other thing I noticed is that both thrive and prosper are verbs. They are doing words, which means you can't thrive if you're going to be passive about it. It's going to require some work. So don't decide, my whole life is now going to be a thriving vessel of God. That might be quite a big thing to start with. So do one thing. Change the way you speak to your children. Change the way you speak to your spouse. My boy's at the back. He's also awesome. And I had to learn this because when Jaden and I do maths homework together, there ain't a lot of thriving going on. And I have learnt that what comes out of my mouth frames what happens in my home. Now hear me. I don't always feel it. But I've learnt that when I'm intentional with my words, it makes me align to the thing that I've just said. Somehow words can take control, which is why there is power of life and death in the tongue. So there are moments where Jaden will get tired and won't fully understand something, so he'll get frustrated. And then I get frustrated because I've been thinking of all the other things that I need to get done in the course of the day, and I know that I'm not alone in this room. So I'll get snappish. Jaden, just concentrate. For 5 minutes. That could very easily be the road I take, but I've learnt. When Mama stays calm, Bubba stays calm. And I learnt this the hard way because I made him cry. So the end of term 2, we were studying for maths, and there was something that he wasn't getting, and I think we'd gone over it 70 times, I'm not sure which, and he just wasn't catching it, and it's because his little brain was tired. So I snapped, "Jaden, if you don't work on this now, you are going to fail this exam." The poor little oak looked at me with eyes real big, and he just cried, and he said, "Why are you shouting at me?" And then I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the worst parent in the world. And I've learnt to say sorry to my children. If you haven't learnt to say sorry to your children when you are wrong, then that can be the one thing that you take out of this building today and make right. Why are you laughing? It's the truth. We have to be quick. Why do children deserve less respect when we get it wrong than adults? Why? They're our own flesh and blood. So I saw this little face cry and I thought, I got it so wrong. And then he said, "Why did you say I'm going to fail?" And I thought, I just actually pronounced death over the poor child. So we stopped. And I cried. And I apologised. So we hugged. And then we took a 15-minute break. And then we came back. Guess what my boy did last term? The maths mark jumped by 20%. It wasn't because of my good tutoring, trust me. Don't ask me to come and tutor your children. It was not me. It was all him. He worked flippin' hard. But if I hadn't heard that little whisper of, yes, Kate, you're wrong, and started to be intentional, I think it might have been different, and it wouldn't have been his fault. It would have been on me. So do something intentional. Start with a baby step. Maybe you need to treat your spouse with a little more respect. Maybe you need to stop being the dripping tap. Change the valve so that you stop dripping at the poor man. And you might find that he responds to you slightly differently. Hashtag just saying. There's any number of things that we can do differently. If you drive on the road with rage in your heart, maybe that's the thing that you need to work on and be intentional about. Just breathe. In your packs, you would have seen a nice little balloon that says Women of Grace. So here's the thing. Don't worry, all you environmentally alert people. It's biodegradable. We're not going to slay the dolphins. It's all right. So here's the thing. Are any of you singers? Don't be shy. I'm not going to make you jump up and sing. Oh, did anyone not get a balloon? Because you're going to need it for this part. Wave your hand in the air if you don't have a balloon. And if you do, you need to get it out of your little pack, because I'm going to make you blow it up. Na, 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 na. So those of you who are vocalists, you will know that the foundation of singing is breath control. Breath control. So here's the thing. Your muscles have a memory. And if you work them correctly, they remember things. So as a singer, one of the ways that you learn breath control is to learn which muscles to exercise. So congratulations, you are all now my 750 voice choir. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm going to teach you a breathing exercise. Ladies, your weapon of destruction is a balloon. Stretch it out, or it could be ugly for the person next to you. Try not to let go and flick the person next to you, because that also won't go so well. Okay, so in singing, the correct method of breath control when you are singing is intercostal diaphragmatic breathing. Yo, yo, yo. So let me tell you, I'm so glad that you have a prop for me to use. So under the rib cage, there is a thin line of muscle called your intercostals. And they run up under here, and this one runs up under here. And what it does is when you are breathing correctly, that band of muscles pulls down, widening your ability to take in air into your lungs. When you breathe out, that band of muscle pushes up, causing you to exhale. We, when we were babies, used those muscles. That's why those little things cry and the sound stops, but the face keeps going. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Don't film this part, it's going to be ugly and I'll be upset with you. You know how they go, "Wah!" and there's no sound, and you're like, breathe, 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 and then they go, okay, you all know exactly what I'm talking about. They are breathing correctly. It's not I wish we could all just still cry and then nothing comes out. But as we get older, our posture gets really lazy and we don't breathe correctly anymore and we breathe shallowly. That's how most of us spend all our lives breathing. But to sing, you gotta breathe. So, Here's a practical exercise to help you remember how to thrive, ladies. I would like you to take a deep breath and proceed to blow up your balloon. Just one breath. Blow into your balloon. One breath. Let me see how good your lungs are. Oh, shame. Some of them are itty-bitty babies. Okay, now let it out nicely. Don't make that horrible sound. Excuse me. Always wanted to do that. Okay, now this time when you blow it up, I want you to pay attention to your body. Feel where it burns. You feel it? It's here. Can you feel? Those are your intercostal muscles. Now the theory is, okay, I know you just can't resist yourself. Let it out and put the balloon down. When you're learning to sing, you remember what the sensation feels like of using those muscles. Obviously, I can't blow up a balloon and then go, King of Kings. No, you just got to remember the sensation of where using the right muscles fits until you learn to do it without thinking. That's the parallel. Do something. Exercise your muscle. Do one thing. Remember how it feels. Remember how it worked. Remember how God was in the middle of the circumstance that you thought he wasn't able to be in the middle of. And then do what? Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again until you stop thinking about it. Then you widen your intentionality to something else. And you start to see life move. Life grows. Breath starts to come. And things are alive. I want you to stand to your feet. And I want to dim the house lights just a little bit. The band's going to come. And they're going to help to create some atmosphere in this place today. Because the thing I felt to leave you with, and amazingly, I just love it when God sews things together, was the same phrase that God dropped on Jess's heart, which is this. There is a condition that occasionally happens in newborn babies: failure to thrive. Has anyone heard that phrase before? Failure to thrive. Those little tiny things stop putting on weight. They're not healthy. It can be incredibly dangerous for them. But you know what the number one treatment of that is? It's not to change the formula. It's skin-on-skin contact. It's putting that tiny, tiny, tiny thing on their mother or their father's chest, skin on skin, strapped down tightly, listening to a heartbeat and feeling breath go in and out. Then thriving starts to come. Some of us in this room today need to just put aside expectation and allow yourself to be vulnerable and be strapped to the chest of Jesus. Listen to his heartbeat. Feel his breath go in and out. And you'll find that your breathing will start to become in time with the Son of God. Breathing in and breathing out. Let's bow our heads. Who told you that you weren't enough? What happened to make you believe that? What happened to make you stop thriving? What happened to make you believe that somehow God was no longer enough? Because in this place this morning, God is about to do something marvelous. So let's just wait on him.